On November 1993, AM2, a development group in Sega that was headed by Yu Suzuki, released Virtual Fighter. It was the first arcade fighting game that used polygonal graphics. Upon its release, it was considered revolutionary and groundbreaking for its in-depth fighting engine based on real-world fighting techniques. It wouldn't be long until other video game companies began developing fighting games using polygonal graphics as well. By the end of 1994, Namco delivered their own take on the Virtual Fighter formula with Tekken, which became the first PlayStation game to sell more than 1 million units. In 1996, Namco introduced another fighting game series that featured weapon-based combat named Soul Edge. In that same year, being dissatisfied with modern fighting games, Tomonobu Itagaki and Team Ninja designed and developed Tecmo's Dead or Alive. By now, polygonal fighting games were in full force. It almost became expected from every video game company that was currently making fighting games. Being one of the top developers of fighting games, Capcom began to design fighting games with polygonal graphics as well. They first released Star Gladiator in October 1996. It was a weapon-based fighting game in a sci-fi setting with character designs by Akiman. The gameplay lacked much of the depth found in other fighting games and only saw a release on the PlayStation. To bring their most popular 2D fighting game series to the third dimension, Capcom partnered with Arika, the company founded by former Street Fighter II designer Akira Nishitani. Together they would co-develop and release Street Fighter EX on November 1996. Street Fighter EX's fighting system was a combination of Street Fighter II and Street Fighter Alpha. While the game featured 3D graphics, the matches remained on a 2D plane. This way, the game would have a fighting system similar to the previous entries in the series. The series' 3-level super combo gauge also returned. New additions included the guard break move that could make an opponent dizzy if it made contact, as well as the canceling system. After a regular or special move, the player could immediately follow it up with the super combo move. Along with many familiar characters from Street Fighter's past, Street Fighter EX introduced a brand new cast of characters. Brought over from Street Fighter II were Ryu, Ken, Chun-Li, Zangief, Guile, Akuma, and Bison. New characters included the ninja siblings Hokuto and Kairi, who share an ominous destiny, Doctrine Dark, a deranged psychopathic killer, Polam Purna, the daughter of a wealthy Arabian man who seeks revenge for the death of her grandfather, Blair Dame, a friend of Polam who joins her in her quest for revenge, Darun Meister, an Indian wrestler and bodyguard to Polam. He was modeled after an international wrestler named the Great Gama, Crackerjack, one of Bison's enforcers who occasionally wields a baseball bat, Alan Snyder, a kickboxer who was designed to resemble renowned martial artist and movie star Chuck Norris, Garuda, a non-human entity made out of souls, and finally, perhaps the most well-known and popular new character from the EX series, Skullomania, a failed salesman who becomes a vigilante crime fighter. After the game was released in arcades, Capcom distributed an update to the game a few months later with Street Fighter EX Plus on March 1997. With this version, all the hidden characters were available by default, including the 2 boss characters Garuda and Bison. 4 more hidden characters were added, which included Evil Ryu, Bloody Hokuto, and the 2 cyborgs Cycloid Beta and Cycloid Gamma. When the game was ported to the PlayStation on July 1997, it received another update and was titled Street Fighter EX Plus Alpha. The game had all the additions from the 2 prior versions and added Sakura and Dulcine to the roster, a hidden bonus stage from Street Fighter II, and CG animated endings for each of the characters. The game was first met with generally positive reviews upon its release. Longtime Street Fighter fans felt that the game was worthy of standing with the best in the series. Thanks to Akira Nishitani, Street Fighter EX managed to achieve maximum performance out of its game engine and performed well. However, the game didn't appear nearly as impressive as other polygonal fighters at the time and was seen as a disappointment among fans. So while the game did poorly in arcades, it had a much bigger audience on the PlayStation. Still, Capcom and Arika strived onward by releasing a sequel to the game in 1998 with Street Fighter EX2. The game retained all the features from the previous game and introduced Excel combos. When initiating an Excel combo, players could connect basic and special moves together much faster and easier for a limited amount of time. EX2's initial roster only brought back 12 characters from EX Plus Alpha, but added 6 more characters. Familiar faces included Blanca and Vega from Street Fighter II. The new faces included Sharon, a gun-wielding hitwoman and Blair's sister, Hayate, a Japanese swordsman, Shadowgeist, a costume vigilante similar to Skullomania, and Nanase, a staff-wielding young girl. Once again, an enhanced version was released entitled Street Fighter EX2 Plus in 1999. This version brought back all the characters excluded from EX2 with the exception of Alan, Blair, and Hayate, who were removed from the game entirely. Sagat from Street Fighter II made a return along with more new characters. They were Volcano Rosso, an Italian martial artist, and Aria, a girl with a large mechanical arm. There was also a new boss character named Bison too. The Excel combos were slightly tweaked to give the player less limitations when it came to its execution. A new gameplay feature in EX2 Plus was the Meteor combo, a more powerful super combo that can only be performed with the 3-level super combo gauge. While these technically existed in prior EX games for certain characters, now each character had their own distinct Meteor combo. Street Fighter EX2 was ported to the PlayStation a few months after its arcade release with new and familiar game modes. It also brought back Hayate as a secret character. Overall, the game was a huge visual improvement over the first EX. The game remained on a 2D plane, but the 3D characters looked much sharper and performed even better thanks to improved hardware. With Street Fighter EX2 Plus, the series established its reputation for insane combos. Unfortunately, the game was met with much more mixed reviews than its prior installment. While some praised its solid foundation as a fighting game, others felt it had less of an impact compared to other fighting games at the time. Ultimately, there just weren't enough new features to interest anyone who had become bored with the original.